Hello, welcome back to Hazel Jane Tarot. Today I'm bringing you something a little bit different and as kind of an informal video response to the two people, to Mixtress Rae, who recently just did a video about deck buying and capitalism and sort of managing our money and how we handle sort of this deck collecting thing. So I really enjoyed her video. I'll link it below. And also to Kim at Abundant Life Tarot, who has recently also shared a video about her managing her deck collection. And she is the person who originally inspired me to start a deck catalogue and wish list, which is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So you can see here just there's a page in one of my books that I use through the year where I've jotted down the new decks that I've bought this year. And that information is that's just a list sort of for a kind of an overall list. That information gets put into a spreadsheet. And I wanted to share with you my spreadsheet today. Basically thinking about the whole thing of deck buying and deck collecting and how we manage that. I think having a really clear idea of how much money you're spending and how much money you have to spend is really important. I don't buy decks that I can't afford to buy, and I am quite conscious that over the last year and a half, 2 years with the pandemic, I have had a wee bit more leisure money than usual because we've not been going on any holidays, because we haven't been going out for dinners and things like that. I've had a little bit more spare cash because my job has continued as normal, to be able to buy a few more tarot decks and oracle decks. And that has given me great joy and has been a lovely leisure activity over the course of the last year. But this is not a kind of pace of deck buying that I would be able to maintain in normal life. And I don't have the storage to keep buying decks at the rate I've been buying them either. So it's not my intention to keep buying as many decks every year as I have over the last 2 years. But I just wanted to show you what I've been doing with that to sort of keep track, in case that might be helpful to some of you. So it's going to look a bit funny because I'm looking at a computer screen, but hopefully that's focused for you. So I have a spreadsheet here, and as you can see, this is my 2021 tab on the spreadsheet. So these are all the new decks that I've got this year. So in the first column, I've got the name of the deck, then the creator. I have sometimes filled in, sometimes not, the month that I got it, the price that I paid for the deck. And when I'm listing that, I always include the postage as well, because I'm in the UK. Sometimes a deck that might cost somebody in the States $60 ends up costing me like, $88 if you add on like $28 postage. So I want to keep a record of that as well, because that's part of that cost for me. And if I was ever going to sell it to somebody, say in the UK, I might want to bear that in mind, that that's actually the full cost of getting that deck to the UK when I would be thinking about a resale price. So you can see the first couple here, they have no price listed because those were paid for in December 20 and I've got them recorded elsewhere. And basically then I've got the prices listed down, and I've also at the bottom here, then I can total up then the total value of the decks I've bought this year. So that's £934. That's quite a lot of money that I've put into my deck collection this year. Now you can see the ones that are grayed out here, those were gifts or trades. So I will do a separate subtotal that'll actually let me see how much money I've spent. And you can see roughly adding those grey boxes together, there's about £100 worth of that value that's not actually money I spent this year because they were gifts. But I find if I've traded a deck or if I've been gifted a deck, I like to find out how much the deck is worth for the purposes of my spreadsheet. So I'm going to look that up a few months after the fact, when I'm putting it in, because I'll just make a note of it in my notebook first, and then I come back and fill this all in later. So that is the decks that I've bought this year, and you can see I've used like an orange to put in for the oracle decks. So overall this year I've brought in 22 new decks, and I think about 8 of those have been oracles. So that's more tarot than oracle. And there's a couple here that I'm still waiting for, the Spirit Keepers Tarot Revelation Edition, and the Victorian Romantic from Baba Studios. Those have been pre-ordered, and the Tarot of the Abyss at the bottom I've pre-ordered but hasn't been charged yet, and I haven't got it yet. So and I also I recently added this column, which is to what I've done on YouTube for the deck. And that's actually kind of helpful because it helps me to see, look, there's loads of decks that I still have that I haven't reviewed, that I could do that later. So at the end of the year, I will split this particular sheet in half, and I will copy and paste all the oracles onto my oracle catalog and all the tarots onto my tarot catalog. So you can see that down here. So the tarot catalog, there is my overall tarot list. And as best as I can, I went back and put the dates roughly of when I received the decks. So you can see there Tarot of the Moon Garden going all the way back to November 97. And then you can see, so like a couple of decks in 2017, like one in 2015, couple in 2017, and then a couple in 2018, and then it's all 2019, 2020. Quite a lot of decks coming in. And I have recorded there again the price that I paid for it. And here this column sort of like, is it out of print, the retailer that I got it from in some cases. And you can see that's more filled in the later ones where I actually know where I got it, because I probably set up the spreadsheet at some point during 2020, and therefore started recording this information. And then the blue ones that have been highlighted blue, they are independent decks. So I just thought it would be useful for me to know that. And you can really see like the price difference between some of the mass market decks and the independent decks. And again, I have a little column here for whether I've done a review or not. And there's loads of decks that I've had for years and worked with loads that I haven't reviewed yet. So that's something I'll get to eventually. So you can see there, I have 37 tarot decks, not counting the ones I got this year. And then in my Oracle tab, Oracle Catalog, same thing. I've recorded the title, the author, the month that I got it in, the price or the value roughly, where I got it from, like if it was a gift or if I got it, you can see then like where I got from trade groups and so on. And there's 32 Oracle decks, not counting the ones I got this year. And obviously there's loads of Oracle decks here that I haven't reviewed at all. So this was all inspired by Kim at Abundant Life Tarot. This isn't exactly the same as hers, but she sort of does this idea. And then this is my wish list. And this is a really kind of rough wish list. When a deck appears that I think looks kind of interesting, I'll put it into this tab. So the one that's highlighted yellow at the very top there, the Morning Calm Oracle by Saul Kelleher, that is the one that I really want. That's the one I'm most keen on off this list. And then the others that are kind of have a peach highlight there, just the Oracle decks, and then the others are tarot. Things go on and off this list. I review it every now and again. I'll look at pictures of those decks every now and again, and I'll go, actually, do you know what? I'm not that bothered about that deck. A lot of the decks that here in the list that are, apart from the Morning Calm Oracle, they're decks that I'm interested in, but I'm not actively looking for. I'm not actively pursuing any of these decks. And some of these are on my kind of birthday wish list, for friends and family, if they wanted to get me something from Amazon, say. But these are decks that I'm sort of thinking about, but they're not, I'm not actively looking for. And it's one of those things that it gives you a bit of time to consider whether you really want the deck or not, rather than just clicking and buying straight away, which I sometimes do, like very spontaneously. The Anne of Green Gables Tarot, when I found out it existed, I had it bought within half an hour. It didn't get time to go on my wish list, I just got it. But using a list like this and checking and seeing how much the deck is and where you can get it from, like I've put in the website for some of the independent decks, it gives you a wee bit of a chance to think about whether you really want something or not. And then I have two extra tabs here. So this is the sale and trade tab, which when I decided I want to move on a deck that I'm thinking I might sell it or I might try to trade it, this is where I put that information while it's sort of pending, but there's nothing at the minute that I'm trying to move on. And then the gone tab, so here are the 10 decks that have left my collection that I have either sold or donated or given away. So you can see there the Oracle of the Mermaids, the Wisdom of the Hidden Realm Oracle, and the Sacred Destiny Oracle. Those were all given away. And then, so to show you how, in some of these, so the Moonchild Tarot, Believe in Your Own Magic, Spirit Within, New Era Elements, Tarot, Work Your Light Oracle, Spellcasting, Oracle Cards, and Miracles Now. Those have all been either sold or traded. So I'll show you the little process I went through that might be useful for somebody who is maybe thinking about selling some decks. So the date column is obviously when I got it, and the cost column is how much I paid for it. If it's grayed out, it's because it was a gift, but that was maybe the price. I looked up how much it cost at the time and where it came from. Now then, here is like the market value column. So I looked up around the time that I was trying to get rid of the deck, how much it was selling for at that time. So like what the price was on Amazon, or how much it would cost to have it sent to the UK if it was an international indie deck or whatever. And then that then helped me work out a sale price. So for the likes of the Moonchild Tarot, which was an independent deck, which is quite hard to get in the UK, and you know, to have it imported from America, there's a charge. There's only a couple of people who sell it in the UK. So to sell the Moonchild Tarot for the price that it was worth new was fair enough, because it was in excellent condition. And then that's sort of the UK postage price. So the total value of the deck for the sale ended up being, you know, the same as what I would have paid for it originally. But for some of these mass market decks, like say there that Believe in Your Own Magic Oracle was $11.19 on Amazon, so I decided to sell it for £7. You know, because to make it worth somebody's while to buy secondhand, you know, I wanted to just make it cheaper than it would be new. And you can sort of see that then with these other mass market decks. And then depending on where it was being posted to, I had to work out the postage, and that's the weight of the package in its packaging, and then sort of the total cost. And I also have a tab here for condition that I used, that kind of came into the planning tab. You know, when I was planning the sale or trade, I wrote a like descriptor of the condition of the deck, so I had that for sale. And what I've hidden there's an extra column there that I've hidden, which is the destination. So if I sold it, or if I gave it away, who I sold it to, or if I traded it, what I traded it for, and so on. So what this might show you, if you have never sold or traded any decks, is that as far as I can tell, independent decks hold their value pretty well in terms of resale. Especially, you know, decks that might have a shorter run and might not be available. And obviously some decks that are very limited run and are currently out of print, like, I don't know, maybe like the Spirit Keepers Tarot first or second edition, or, you know, the Lightseers Tarot first edition, those might be worth a lot more now than, you know, like the £70 or the £60 that I paid for it originally. But mass market decks tend not to hold their value because they're still available. They can still be brought brand new. So if you're going to be trying to sell a deck like that secondhand, you're probably not going to get as much money as you paid for it. So in terms of investment and money and managing your money, you know, if you're planning to sell decks on, I personally wouldn't want to buy in a lot of mass market decks that I wasn't sure I wanted to keep, because they're really not going to hold the value to sell on. I try not to buy any deck with, you know, just to try it out. I'll use walkthroughs and look at images and so on, and really think about it before I buy it, because while, you know, yes, some people do trade decks and they do make good money out of it and so on, that's not why I'm buying decks. Those decks I've got rid of, it's just because I knew I really wasn't using them. Now, some of these decks I might sell in the future, but I have no intention of doing that at the minute. That's not sort of on my agenda. So yes, so that's sort of how I manage my deck collection. And I don't know if that's helpful to anybody. I'm a Virgo sun, so I'm a kind of an organized person, and that's you know, I do enjoy a list. And so maybe those of you who are not quite so into your lists, you might not enjoy doing that process so much. But it did help me to get a clear sense of the value of my collection and what I have, and also when it came to deciding, okay, this dozen decks or whatever, or they're not getting used, to see what value they had, and whether it was worth selling them or trading, or what was going to be best, how to handle moving those decks on. But yes, just to reiterate, like, I really hear that argument that, you know, some people have been having in the community about consumption and capitalism and spending so much money on our debt collections. And I just thought this might be a useful tool to help some people to manage that a bit better. Anyway, you can hear my neighbour has started cutting their hedge, so I'll say bye-bye for now. Bye.